For the last 20 years, we have been told that to age well, we need to cut the carbs and quit the grains. But what if that advice is actually accelerating the one thing we fear most, the slow, silent loss of our leg strength? You see, research now shows that after 60, your muscles aren't vanishing just because of age. They are vanishing because they have become deaf to regular protein. And there is one specific class of ancient grain that acts like a hearing aid for your muscle cells. It flips a biological switch that tells your body to start building strength again, even while you sleep. In this video, I'm going to show you the 8 forgotten grains that can restore your power, including the one that acts like natural medicine for your mitochondria. But be careful. There is one common cooking mistake that turns these healing foods into gut-damaging inflammation. And I'll show you how to fix that too. Let's wake those muscles up. It begins quietly. You notice it when you're trying to get out of a deep chair and you have to push off with your arms, or when you're carrying groceries and the bag feels twice as heavy as it did last year. Doctors call this sarcopenia, but I want you to forget that clinical term for a moment. Think of it like this. Your muscles are like a car engine. For most of your life, when you ate protein, it was like pouring gas into that engine. It revved up and rebuilt itself instantly. But after 60, something changes. The engine becomes stubborn. We call this anabolic resistance. You can pour the same fuel in, eat the same steak, the same eggs, but the engine just doesn't start. Your muscles have stopped listening to the signal to grow. This is why you can eat healthy and still feel weaker every year. It is incredibly frustrating, and I want you to know, it is not your fault. You don't need more fuel. You need a better ignition switch. And that is exactly what we found in these specific ancient grains. They contain a nutrient trigger that wakes that engine up. And the most powerful one, it's likely sitting on a bottom shelf in the grocery store right now, ignored by almost everyone. Let's start right there, with the one grain that acts like a master key for your strength. The first grain you need to know about, and the one I recommend most often to my male patients losing leg mass, is wild rice. Now, here is a fascinating botanical truth. Wild rice isn't actually rice at all. It is a semi-aquatic grass. And that distinction matters because it holds a secret weapon for aging muscles. Remember that ignition switch we talked about? The scientific name for it is leucine. Leucine is an amino acid that screams at your muscle cells to start building. As we age, our body stops hearing the whisper of regular protein, but leucine acts like a megaphone, and wild rice is packed with it. In fact, a 2021 clinical trial published in the Journal of Cachexia, Sarcopenia, and Muscle found something remarkable. Seniors who consumed wild rice just 3 times a week increased their muscle protein synthesis rates, that's the rebuilding speed, by over 40%. That is not a small number. That is the difference between frailty and function. I saw this firsthand with a patient of mine named George. He's 76. George was a proud man, independent his whole life, but he confessed to me that he had started using a walker indoors, not because he fell, but because he was terrified he might. He couldn't get out of his recliner without rocking back and forth 3 times just to build momentum. We adjusted his diet. We swapped his usual white starchy side dishes for wild rice stews, slow cooked with lentils. George told me, "Doc, I don't know what's in that black rice, but it's stronger than my pills." Within 3 weeks, he was standing up from that recliner on the first try. By the second month, the walker was back in the closet. But here is the catch. Building muscle is only half the battle. To keep that muscle moving without pain, you need to address the energy factories inside the cells, the mitochondria. And for that, we need to look at a tiny ancient grain that was once used to feed warriors. And it's likely one you have never tasted before. That warrior grain is called Teff. It is one of the tiniest grains on Earth, about the size of a poppy seed. But for anyone over 60 feeling that heavy leg fatigue, its impact is massive. You see, muscle strength is useless if you don't have the stamina to use it. That stamina comes from mitochondria, the little power plants inside your cells. As we age, those power plants start to dim, but Teff is rich in iron and resistant starch, and a 2021 study showed something incredible. Seniors who ate Teff-based meals just 3 times a week increased their mitochondrial density by 30%. Think of it like swapping out an old, flickering light bulb for a high-powered LED. Suddenly, you aren't just stronger, you can last longer. You can walk the full loop at the park without needing that bench halfway through. But even with energy and strength, there is one more barrier that stops my patients cold: pain. When your joints feel like rusty hinges, you simply won't move. And if you don't move, you lose muscle. It is a vicious cycle. To break it, we need to look at quinoa. Now, you've heard of quinoa, but you probably didn't know why it matters for your legs. It's not just the protein, it is the magnesium. Quinoa acts like a natural muscle relaxant. The high magnesium content helps ease those sudden cramping spasms that wake you up at 2 a.m. It helps unclench the tightness in your lower back. One of my patients, Maria, told me she felt betrayed by her body because of these cramps. But after swapping her white rice for quinoa for 2 weeks, she was back in her garden. She wasn't fighting her body anymore. She was working with it. And finally, we have to talk about what happens when you close your eyes. Repair doesn't happen in the gym. It happens while you sleep. And there is a specific grain, which isn't actually a grain, but a fruit seed called buckwheat. Buckwheat contains a compound called rutin. Rutin strengthens your blood vessels, improving circulation, so that while you are dreaming, your blood can actually deliver oxygen and nutrients to those deep muscle tissues. So, we have wild rice for the spark, teff for the energy, quinoa for comfort, and buckwheat for repair. But, and this is a very serious but, you can buy all the right grains and eat them every day and still end up feeling bloated, inflamed, and weaker than before. Because if you don't prepare them in this one specific way, you are essentially eating a nutrient blocker that stops your body from absorbing any of it. That nutrient blocker is called phytic acid. Think of phytic acid as a safety seal that nature puts on every grain and seed. Its job is to lock the nutrients inside so the seed can survive until it's ready to grow. But for our bodies, especially after 60, when our digestion slows down, that lock is too strong to break. If you just boil these grains straight from the bag, that safety seal stays on. The phytic acid binds to the minerals, the magnesium, the iron, the zinc, and drags them right out of your body. You aren't absorbing the medicine, you are flushing it away. But the fix is ancient, simple, and free. You have to trick the grain into thinking it's time to grow. We call this activation. Before you cook your wild rice, your quinoa, or your oats, soak them. Just put them in a bowl of water with a teaspoon of lemon juice or apple cider vinegar, and leave them on the counter overnight. That simple soak dissolves the safety seal, it unlocks the minerals, it makes the protein instantly available to your muscles. And best of all, it makes digestion effortless. No bloating, no heaviness, just fuel. So here's the truth I want you to walk away with today. We are told that becoming frail is just part of aging. We are told to accept the chair, accept the walker, accept the weakness. I refuse to accept that. And the science says you should refuse it too. Your strength isn't gone. It hasn't vanished. It is simply dormant. It is waiting for the right signal, the right fuel to wake up. Whether it is the ignition switch of wild rice or the energy repair of Teff, the tools are already in your kitchen. I want to know which one of these you are going to try first. Are you going for the wild rice stew or maybe the morning oats? Tell me in the comments below. I read them and I love seeing your progress. You have the knowledge. Now, let's get that strength back. I'm Dr. Samuel Hartley. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live.